Hey all you cool cats and kittens, it's Carol here from Big Cat Rescue, here with another episode of Pasquinelli's Point. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Pasquinelli's Point. So what we're going to do is we're going to try something a little different today. I'd like to call this a drink and a movie. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a drink and then we are going to do a movie review, and this movie review is on the Batman. So before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the video and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Let's get to the point. So I'm going to move you guys to a different angle so you guys can see me make the drink. And this drink is actually, hold on, give me 1 second. This drink is actually from a book I just recently purchased. It is called Gotham City Cocktails. So basically it's got a bunch of different cocktails in it that you can make that are Batman themed. And the one we're going to make today is going to be called the Dark Nightcap, which I've had before and it is delicious. So let me show you guys how to make it. Alright guys, so here's the deal. You need to start off with a glass of ice. You need something to measure. So this one calls for blended Scotch whiskey. I went ahead and got monkey shoulder for this. So it takes ounce and a half. So since I like to drink alcohol, I'm going to go 2 ounces actually. So you do your pour here. And then it calls for an ounce of, I don't know how to say this, Amaro. So I usually do like, let's say I do like an ounce and a little bit. And this is strong stuff, so you don't need a whole lot of this. Okay. And then it also calls for club soda. So basically it calls for 2 ounces. You know what I did forget before I came over here was a spoon. Give me 1 second. And then orange bitters as well. It calls for 2 dashes. I like to hit it with 3. And mix that around once more. Now they say you can garnish with lemon. Unfortunately, I do not have any lemon right now. So we'll drink it just like this. Here we go, the Dark Nightcap. That's pretty damn good. Now, let's get to the movie review. I'll meet you guys in the basement. I'm going to throw a sweatshirt on. It gets a little cold down there. All right. Well, now that we got the drink made, let's sit down and do a little review of the Batman. Hey, who are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Weird. Thought you were Batman. Anyways, let's get to the start of this. So, first off, I'd like to say that I definitely enjoyed the movie. I think it's a must-see in theaters for sure. Now, I'm going to bounce around a little bit to different things that I liked about it. There's a couple things that I didn't like about it. And then at the end, I'll kind of talk about overall, but why don't we get started with the Riddler? So basically the movie opens with the Riddler, and he is watching someone through like a pair of binoculars, and he sneaks into their house and basically he kills this guy, and that's kind of how the movie starts. But he kind of creeps out of the shadows, very similar to how Batman would. And it was interesting to me to see like how he kind of slinked around, and the reveal of the Riddler at the beginning is, you know, he's kind of dressed like the Zodiac Killer, and then he leaves these messages behind that are encrypted for Batman, similar to how the Zodiac Killer left messages or riddles or whatever you want to say to the police to try and catch him. Now you have, right after that, you have the first appearance of Batman, who literally walks out of the shadows and does this. And I'll tell you what, it was very violent, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a different take on Batman. And you have to think of it this way. You know, this is Batman year number 2 for him, which we see early on in the movie, that this was only his second year at being Batman, which means that he's still fairly fresh, and he doesn't know how to control that rage he has from when his parents were killed. He just wants to go after everybody who is bad, and it doesn't matter who you are. And that is why he says that he is vengeance, because he's not Batman, he is vengeance. So we'll get more into later on how he kind of develops into Batman over time of the movie. But what I did want to talk about is this being year 2. I think I enjoyed that they didn't take like one comic book adaptation and make it straight into a movie. They took multiple different comics, so it's kind of an amalgamation of different versions or stories of Batman. I mean, they used year 1, they used Earth 1, they used Long Halloween. Long Halloween, literally the murder takes place on Halloween night, kind of how the beginning of this movie does. Although the Long Halloween takes place over a period of a whole year, it involves Sal Maroni and Carmine Falcone. So that does play a little bit into it. And I like how another thing I liked about this movie is there's basically 2 stories going on at the same time, like 2 villain stories, one for Carmine Falcone and one for the Riddler. And for a while, you know, I kind of think that it being a 3-hour movie is very, very, very long for any movie. I'm not really a big 3-hour movie at the theaters guy. You know, a 3-hour movie at home, sure, cool, I can pause it when I want, take a break, come back, you know, whatever I gotta do. But sitting there for 3 hours, uninterrupted, not being able to really move, and you don't want to ruin the theater going experience for other people, I think it is quite long, but it makes sense because you basically have to wrap up 2 stories in one movie. I enjoyed the way they wrap these 2 villains kind of in the same story, but also on different paths as well. Something else I really enjoyed with the movie as well is that they focus so much more on Batman being an actual detective.
That's Moshel. He doesn't work Fridays. Neither does Ferrick. That's the Thursday crew. This isn't live. They're broadcasting old footage. Something's wrong.
He's a new detective. He's just figuring things out. So things are harder for him to figure out. It's not, he doesn't just look at something. You know, you got to think of like the animated Batman. He could look at it and be like, oh, I know the answer to this riddle right away. It took this Batman some time because he's so brand new at it. Now, one thing that I thought was pretty cool is there is like a slander ad campaign that the Riddler puts up of Thomas Wayne. And on there they talk about, I can't remember his first name, but last name Elliot, which was a nod to the comic book Hush. And they also throw the word Hush up there over the newspaper. I thought that was pretty cool. That's one of my favorite Batman stories I've ever read. So if they go that route, which they probably won't because of what happens at the end, I would enjoy that. I would enjoy to see some different characters, not the same, you know, Joker and Bane. I mean, I know we saw the Riddler, but we saw the Riddler different in this. But still, he's one that we've seen in live action already, played by Jim Carrey. I would like to see maybe some different characters that we don't often see in live action Batman. Batman keeps this diary because almost the way, well, so he keeps this diary, but basically he has this contact that's like a camera in his eye so he can recount everything that happens. He almost blacks out. He becomes Batman, but it's just so totally different from any other Batman. Like, he can't recount the things that happen because it's just so many things happening so fast, and he almost can't remember it. And I thought that was a unique take on this Batman, and possibly because he's so rageful and he doesn't know how to control it. One thing I didn't really like, though, is the way that he takes gunshots. I mean, this suit isn't armored up. Again, like we said, it's year 2 Batman. It's not like he's armored to the gills. I mean, you're almost making him like Iron Man, basically, at that point. Just the way he takes gunshots and the bullets bounce right off of him. At the beginning, he takes a gunshot. At the end, he takes a gunshot. You know, he takes gunshots quite a bit throughout the movies like they're nothing. And I just think, I don't know, to me, it's like that's not Batman to me. But it's a different version of him, so I guess I can give it a pass. I would like to see him be a little more affected by the gunshots that happen to him instead of just kind of like flinching and then he keeps going. But I did like his like utility belt. He definitely 100% used these gadgets, and it's not like the old 66 Adam West.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
It's like he just pulls things out, and he has like, you know, this bomb that he uses, and you know, just the way he had the taser thing he used at the beginning, just the way that he goes about it, he just like pulls something out of his belt, uses it, boom, you figure out what it is, and that's the end of it. He doesn't go on and explain all these different utility pieces that he has. Alfred doesn't show him how to use them. It just kind of happens, you know, and I like that. I also liked how they didn't revisit the story of Wayne becoming an orphan. You know, they talk about it, but you don't see it. You don't see Crime Alley. You don't see his parents get shot. It's just like common knowledge, and it should be at this point. How many times are you going to redo that at the beginning of a movie to describe where Batman's going? We know this already. It's already happened multiple times. If you're going to go see the Batman and you don't know it, shame on you. That's your own fault. Something else was cool, how he went to the Iceberg Lounge 3 different times. Once he shows up as Batman and demands he gets in, beats the crap out of the twins, and just starts fighting everybody inside the club until the Penguin comes out to talk to him. And then the second time he goes there, he comes as Bruce Wayne, and they let him in just because he's such a high-profile member of Gotham City, because he wanted to talk to Falcone. And then the third time, he sneaks in so he can cut the power and dress up like Batman and get Falcone and bring him outside into the light, because he's been hiding in the Iceberg Lounge for so long. And Colin Farrell's just unrecognizable. He doesn't even sound like himself. Just an amazing performance by Colin Farrell. And I know that in the future they are going to be making this spin-off Penguin show, and I'm actually looking forward to it to see where it goes, because at the end of this movie they do show him kind of like taking over Falcone's spot, because Falcone does die. So if Falcone dies, who's going to take over that regime? It looks like it's going to be the Penguin. I don't know if I liked it or I don't want to say I disliked it. I don't want to say I didn't like it. I just thought it was unique, I guess. The way that Wayne Manor looks so gothic, so old. So, you know, like in these other movies, this mansion just looks, you know, humongous, just a big, rich mansion. Very nice, like a typical mansion. And this just looks like old and a little decrepit, and it just has that old school gothic feel. And I feel like that is because of when it was built and the Waynes founded Gotham City. So to me, I thought that was a pretty unique take on it. And I actually really enjoyed the Batcave, how it's kind of like underneath the land. It's not really like in the basement of the mansion. It's kind of like underneath, like under, like in the subway tunnels kind of deal. I thought that was pretty cool, and I liked how it was very bland. There wasn't a lot down there. He's had a couple computers, a TV, his car, and that's kind of it. There is no other things. There's no souvenirs that he's collected from people that he's beat. So to me, that was cool because it shows you how young Batman is. One thing that I really enjoyed in the movie was the car chase scene. So Batman goes to this warehouse to see what's going on with the drops, I believe it was called. It's like a drug that people drop in their eyelids. Not in their eyelids, they drop in their eyes. And then basically the Penguin starts shooting at him. I can't remember what happens. Something happens to Batman and he gets knocked out. And then all of a sudden he's gone because Catwoman is also there. And he's just in his car. And can we talk about the car for a minute? At first I was kind of like, it's kind of lame when I first saw the reveal of the car. Not in the movie, just in general. And then when that car started up and the noise that it made, you know, the old muscle car noise, it just sounded so badass, but so raw, so new. Like, he doesn't even know what he's doing yet. I mean, it even felt like just the way he was driving, he was just kind of like all over the place, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But that car chase scene was excellent. Really has you on the edge of your seat while he's chasing Penguin. And once he gets the Penguin to interrogate him, it's just so cool the way that they were able to make Colin Farrell just like not even look like himself. He doesn't, you know, I guess the acting in general, like his little gangster accent and everything like that, I mean, that's all attributed to Colin Farrell's acting. But the makeup is just phenomenal. What a great performance by Colin Farrell, who's barely in the movie. Selena really. Kyle, she was all right. You know, there's a lot of good performances in this movie. Great performances even. But to me, I don't think Zoe Kravitz's performance was terrible. I just thought like she was all right. She wasn't really needed in the movie per se. I mean, she was just looking for her friend, and then the whole like she's Carmine Falcone's kid. I know that it was done in a comic book, but I don't know. I guess I didn't see that happening, so it kind of threw me off a little bit. Do I think that she's going to show up in a sequel? I don't know. Just the way she kind of leaves abruptly and goes her own way, and Batman stays in Gotham. I just feel like maybe they're like leaving it open-ended. I know they had talked about a spin-off show for Catwoman as well. I don't know if that's still happening. Maybe that'll lead more, you know, it'll be a bigger story for it. So I'll be a little more interested in checking that out. Another scene that was pretty cool was the mayor's funeral and how the car crashes through, and right before it crashes through, Bruce is looking at this archway and you can't really see because the light is in the lens of the camera, but all you can see is the outline figure, and that's when you know that the Riddler is there and you know that something is about to happen. And the car comes crashing through, and Bruce actually saves the mayor's kid, and this guy gets out of the car and he's strapped with a bomb on him. And another thing for me that I liked about this scene is that when he leaves and comes back as Batman, he just calmly walks out of the shadows, like out of nowhere. You have all of these cops lined up watching this guy with the bomb, and he just walks in out of nowhere, which I thought was pretty cool. And then also, too, you see how young he is because he wants so much information. He wants to know who this rat is that he stays by this guy as the bomb blows out and basically knocks himself out, which is crazy. You know, older, more veteran Batman probably would not have done that. I liked Andy Serkis as Alfred. He wasn't in it as much as I expected him to be, but one thing that bothered me is he kept just calling him Bruce. Bruce. It's Master Bruce. It's Master Wayne.
Know your limits, Master Wayne.
That really annoyed the shit out of me, just because being a Batman fan for so long, and in all sorts of media and in most of the comic books, it's Master Wayne or Master Bruce, and he never calls him that, and I was waiting for that. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, but that's just such a minuscule thing in the movie that bothered me. Another sweet scene was the police station escape with Batman and Commissioner Gordon. By the way, Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, as weird as it's going to sound when they first cast him, I wasn't really thinking like I was going to be a big fan of it, you know, like, but Jeffrey Wright is phenomenal as Jim Gordon. I mean, he plays Jim Gordon amazing. He almost reminds me of Gordon from the animated 90s series, how good he actually plays him and how well they kind of work together in this movie. Now, the police escape was pretty cool because basically Gordon helps him escape, takes a punch to the face, and later on they meet up and he says, "You could have pulled that punch, you know," and Batman goes, "I did," which I think was pretty cool, just how physically strong that Batman is. And I, unfortunately, when they originally canceled the GCPD show that was supposed to be on HBO Max, I was like, good, I don't care about it. But now I'm kind of sad because I like Jim Gordon a lot, and I thought that he would be it would benefit his story a lot if they did that GCPD show. So who knows? Maybe he'll show up in that Arkham Asylum show that's supposed to come out. Back to the police station escape. When Batman gets up to the roof, he puts on this like squirrel suit, to fly through the city. He's flying so fast through the city, and he looks great, and the way the camera angle's going right up in his face, I thought that was really cool. But the best part about the whole thing is that when he goes to try and stop himself, he hits these train tracks and spins out of control, hits the ground, boom, 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 boom. Loved it so much because it shows just how young and careless Batman is. Can we talk about Paul Dano as the Riddler? Such an amazing performance. Amazing performance. I thought he was great. He was creepy. He was menacing. He was evil. And it was so much so I felt like grounded in reality that like somebody could do this. Someone has done this, as we talked earlier about the Zodiac Killer. The Riddler, to me, is just like kind of a joke of a character a little bit in some media, and then in other ones he's a very dangerous person. So I think the Riddler will come back. He's not going to stay in Arkham. He'll be back in a sequel at some point. Another thing at the end of the movie, does he know that Bruce is Batman? He has this whole monologue where he talks about, orphans and how they were both orphans, and Bruce wasn't a real orphan because he had all kind of money and he didn't live in an orphanage like a normal orphan would. And he keeps saying, Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne. And then he kind of like ignores it. He doesn't really say anything. Now, I don't know if because Batman looks at the camera and he notices pointing at the Riddler, and maybe the Riddler knows people are watching, and he does know that Batman is Bruce Wayne, because there is a comic where the Riddler is going to tell everybody that Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same person, and Batman tells them basically how is the riddle good if everyone knows the answer? So then the Riddler decides not to tell anybody because he wants to be the superior one with all the knowledge. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Maybe it'll come up later on in a different movie. The climax where they blow the seawalls and all the water comes rushing into the city to flood the city, and the fight at the like mayoral campaign speech on the catwalk was pretty cool. Very brutal Batman. I really, really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was excellent. That ending was very, very cool. And then at some point this is where I enjoyed him getting shot with a shotgun damn near like a foot away from the guy, and he goes flying back and basically gets himself knocked out, and he almost dies till Catwoman comes and saves him. But she's getting ready to be killed, and he pulls out this green vial and injects himself. Is that Venom? Am I crazy? Am I the only one that thinks that could be Venom? To maybe later on show like Bane show up at some point? And I don't know, because he did go a little crazy, kept punching that guy in the face. So it like filled him full of rage, and that's kind of what Venom does, You have this opportunity to bring in more villains with this Arkham series. I mean, the Riddler is probably going to be shown in that, and I would imagine you're going to bring in other characters, but like Hugo Strange could show up at some point. So I'm interested to see where this universe goes, because it's not part of the DC extended universe. And basically, by the end of this movie, he's no longer vengeance. He finally realized that he needs to be a tool of good and have people look up to him. He becomes the Batman. He's not out there filled with rage. I mean, he's still going to be mad and he's still learning, but I think that at the end, you realize that he made his transition from vengeance to Batman. So, when the movie ends, the Riddler starts talking to a neighboring Arkham Asylumite or asylum member, whatever you want to call it. It is the Joker. It has to be the Joker. So you're teasing the Joker already, which to me, I don't know. I know everybody wants to have the Joker, but like I said earlier, I expect some new blood, some new faces. Man-Bat, Clayface, but Mr. Freeze has been in one movie. Like and Mr. Freeze's movie was terrible. He could come back and do something cool. Poison Ivy's movie was terrible. You can have Poison Ivy in it and do a little bit more with her. There's just so many villains out there. Killer Croc. Like, why Why the Joker? Because everybody wants to see him? I mean, maybe yes. But the problem with that is Heath Ledger's Joker was so good that I think every Joker from now on will be judged based off how good Heath Ledger's Joker was. So if he's not excellent and he's subpar, I mean, what makes a Batman movie? It's not just Batman. It's also the villain that he faces and how menacing, evil, strong, how much of a nuisance they are to Batman and how hard it is for him to beat that person. I just feel like Joker's been used so much that I think it's time to go a different direction and have a little bit more. I was really hoping for a Court of Owls. That's what I'm hoping for. I want a Court of Owls movie with Batman. I think that would be totally different and not been done in live action. But overall, my overall experience in the movie was great. Like I said, the movie's a little long for me, but great performances. Paul Dano, Colin Farrell, Robert Pattinson, Jeffrey Wright. You have some really, really, really great performances in this movie. The movie's a must-see. You got to see it in the theaters. The score is brilliant. I love the new Batman theme song. I love the music that they put into the movie. I loved how they propelled the character forward in such a short time. And is the sequel going to be right after this one, or is it going to be years, forward, 4 years later, 5 years later, an older, more grizzled Batman? We'll see. I'm interested to see what they do. I enjoyed the movie very much. The one thing people got to stop is the slander online on The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is the best Batman movie. I don't care that this is like neo-noir, thriller. I liked how it was different for a superhero movie, yes. But are you honestly telling me that this movie is better than The Dark Knight? You guys are crazy as the Joker. But the video's over. No. Hey, I hope you liked the video, guys. Don't forget to comment down on the video and let me know what you thought. Please subscribe to the channel. And also check me out on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all at Pasquinelli's Point. I appreciate all the support. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day.